Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. My name is Bryna Bloom, and I am not your worship associate today. I am here as chair of your care team. The care team and the Lifespan Committee recently presented a class called Grace in Aging. The service this morning is based on that class, and we hope you enjoy it. And like with the class, we're going to do a little chair yoga stretching first. Because, everybody, as we get older, we need to move. So I am going to move. Sit up in your chairs. Sit straight. Head up. Chin facing down towards your neck. Arms on your thighs, palms up, so that you open the collarbone and open your chest. We're going to breathe in for 4 through our noses. Hold it the best you can. Breathe out through your nose if you can, otherwise through your mouth, and then hold it for 4. We're going to do this 3 times. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Put your hands at the bottom of your ribs. I want you to feel your chest expanding when you inhale and contracting when you exhale. It helps you to get more and more oxygen into your lungs, which we all need. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale and contract. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale and expand. Push those ribs out. Let that oxygen in there. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2 and contract. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 3. Now, everything we do is to lubricate the body. Hands on your knees or as close to your knees as you can. Try not to fall off the table. Okay, we're going to do what's called cat-cow. We're going to do cow first, which is pushing your body forward, looking up. And if you need to, you can moo. And then contract like a cat stretches. And of course, if you're so inclined, you can meow. Let's do 3 of these. This is to lubricate your spine. Let's go. Cow. 2, 3, 4. Cat. 4. Cow. 2, 3, 4. Cat. 2, 4. Cow. 2, 3, 4. Cat. 2, 4. Now hold this position and then make happy faces, half moons to one side and center and left side and center, right side and center, left, center, roll it up, and make full circles. And if your neck sounds like mine, you're hearing the old Rice Krispies commercials of snap, crackle, and times in each direction. Then change sides, change directions. Center. Arms out in front. This is just, let's get those wrists moving. Get those wrists moving, get those wrists moving. We don't do this often enough. That's why sometimes it's hard to pick things up. And then the other way. Hands down. Ankles, same thing. That's why people twist their ankles, because they're not juiced, they're not lubricated. Now, if you can, arms out to the side. You have room, or else put them in the front. And this is your opportunity to give yourself a hug. And open and hug. Thumbs to heart center. Namaste.
What can I do for you, my dear monk?
Oh, kind and wise sage, I am in my 70s and I still do not know who I am. Does the identity crisis never end?
It ended, my dear, when you were born. But for most of us, it does take a lifetime to define ourselves, assuming it happens at all.
I know. Well, I'm a professional woman who thinks too much.
Your identity is not woman or what you may have done for a vocation. What you did as your job or vocation was appropriate or conducive to the expressing of your identity, of who and what you really are. And as far as the racing of your mind, in the East, artists create art after emptying the mind. In the West, artists create art by drinking a lot of coffee. Perhaps you could enjoy thinking too much.
Well, I'm still confused. I feel so uncertain and doubtful so much of the time.
That's wonderful. Do not force a change on that strength.
Uncertainty is wonderful? A strength?
Yes. Confidence is good, but doubt and uncertainty was invented to open the mind. The moment you are certain about things is the same moment that the door to your mind is closed. To quote a famous woman poet, to live is to be uncertain. Certainty comes at the end.
Well, I think I understand, but I'm still confused about what makes one who they are, their identity. Some of my ancestors came from Mexico, although I am seen as white. A UUer, I'm educated.
Let me ask you this. What are you doing when you feel most alive, present, and totally free?
Well, let's see. I love to knit. Am I a knitter?
Well, tell me, what happens when you knit? What comes up for you?
Well, when I am knitting, I am focused, I am creative, inventive. Deeper thoughts can come up and brings me to satisfaction to know that what I am knitting for someone will be comforting and pleasing to look at.
So, perhaps you see now, you are a person of great concentration, paradoxical to the perception of yourself as a scattered thinker. You are insightful and receptive. You are a person of creativity, purpose, generosity, and love. All those other labels, your gender or job, are superfluous.
I believe I understand. Now, how do I hang on to this real me?
Hang on to the real behind the false, and don't be afraid, for the beloved you seek is none other than yourself. I might add, your real self. Much liberation, my dear, comes from the letting go of the stories you have created about yourself. The poet Terence Gray reminds us, pack your bags, go to the station without them. Catch the train and leave yourself behind. And remember, who and what you are, your identity never, ever ages. If you'd be so kind now, Fran, to light the chalice. A poem by Rumi. As we light the chalice, please consider, hold on to, and not be afraid for the following poem. Hold on to love and be not afraid. Hold on to truth and be not afraid. Hold on to the real behind the false and be not afraid. For the beloved you seek, again, is none other than yourself. Hold on to this truth and be not afraid. Hiroshi, if at this time you will light our BioPOC candle. We light these candles to symbolize the true, beautiful, and evolved spiritual nature of the Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities. Dearest members of the BioPOC community, when you realize your true being, you will leave behind your human education to look after itself until its destiny is exhausted. When you realize your true being, you will leave behind your human education to look after itself until its destiny is exhausted.
Well, I am going to share excerpts from a short essay, What This Hand, Old Hand Knows, by Alma Roberts Gordon. I'm drawn to it because it illustrates awakening to the grace of aging. This hand, my hand, was once young and small, nestled into my parents' hand. It is the same hand, but definitely shows the marks of time. And it is impermanence, the slow and constant change, and it is equanimity, the joyful acceptance of what is. What this old hand knows. My husband of 55 years kissed my hand. I withdrew it in embarrassment. After all, he was never that demonstrative, even in our courting days. Oh, it's not very pretty, I explained, passing the fruit bowl. To me it is, he insisted. Well, I looked at my hand with candor. No, it wasn't all pretty, and yet it was fair and good to me. And to appreciate what this hand had been able to accomplish in response to my lifetime demands. How many microscopic worlds has it moved about, naked of glove as it urged beauty and fruit from a cooperative earth? How many fragile seedlings has it encouraged to fruition? How many tears has it wiped away with a balled fist, or offered a paper tissue to another? How many Band-Aids has it applied to generations of minor abrasions? This square hand still wears a thin golden band between a tiny diamond and family ring. Its nails are short with deep half moons, wrinkles, testament of 80 years, characterize it with a scattering of freckles and liver spots along a network of prominent veins. It certainly is not a pretty hand, but it has served me well. It has served me well turning pages, picking blueberries, tossing salad, braiding a child's hair. It has rescued turtles, crickets, sparrows, and garter snakes from dry wells. For how many years has this hand and its mate mounted the keyboard of a trusty typewriter, pounding out letters that became words that eventually filled drawers with poems, essays, and stories, without complaint as to the worth of such mileage. And so I proclaim, it is a wondrous hand, such a miracle, to have filtered sunlight, caught fireflies, tested daisies for he loves me not, held buttercups under a child's chin, triggered jeweled seeds into tomorrow, and it is no slight accomplishment. How dexterous you are, hand. I tell it to dial a phone, crack a nut, catch a ball, and sign my name. To have grasped other hands in greeting or prayer or farewell, waved loved ones off, smoothed a beloved husband's brow as he entered eternity. Blessed you have been, old hand. O good and faithful hand, I repeat, let me remember the fine things you've done. Here's a key to unlock the door, a shell to hold an ear, sand to sift, kindling to lay on a fire, small torch to carry. Here's a nail to pound into a wall on which a memory may be hung in exultation, praise, and thanksgiving. O hand, you truly are exceedingly beautiful and worthy of recognition. Bless the faithful heart of the spouse who also found you so and kissed your telltale lifeline.
For our meditation and reflection this morning, I will share a poem by Thomas Merton, followed by music for centering, and you may just continue a meditative posture in any way you so choose. Finally, I am coming to the conclusion that my highest ambition is to be what I already am, that I will never fulfill my obligation to surpass myself unless I first accept myself. And if I accept myself fully and in the right way, I will already have surpassed myself.
That's a challenge right there. Glad I'm using them, though. Really glad we're using them. I'll start with a reading, and I don't know if I'll say the person's name right, but it's Robin Draga, Rabindranath, Tagore. It's called The Stream of Life. The same stream of life that runs through my veins night and day runs through the world and dances in rhythmic measures. It is the same life that shoots in joy through the dust of the earth, in numberless blades of grass, and breaks into tumultuous waves of leaves and flowers. It is the same life that is rocked in the ocean's cradle of birth and death, in ebb and flow. I feel my limbs are made glorious by the touch of this world of life, and my pride is from the life throb of ages dancing in my blood this moment. The question I've asked myself is, what does aging mean to me? And it reminded me that aging is a journey. It is not the journey to death, it is just a journey. Because I'm aging, and I would say my age group is somewhere in the middle range of this congregation, and I don't think about it much. But I am able to live in the now. I am able to be here today because today is where I belong. Today is who I am. I hope that it can age with grace, in the respect that I can do it without excessive whining, excessive complaining, excessive blaming, because it's nobody's fault. My mother used to say, and I think about my mother often in these times, and one of the things she used to say, you'll get old yourself someday. And if anybody would say something about aging, she said, yeah, but the alternative is the pits. And that's the reality. I am here today because I am here today, because I am still breathing, because I am aging. I am becoming different every day. I have seen some of the weaknesses that come with the time that passes. I walk slower. I don't do many of the things I used to do. I used to think I could fix anything, even though I really couldn't, but I could act like I did. I used to be able to lift and tote any barge. But today I know that's not reality. Today I'm in acceptance of what is, and that's what makes aging a joy to me. Because I get to show up. I get to show up in the now. And one of the things that I have come to realize and be in acceptance of is most of the limitations I am currently experiencing in my life experience are because of the ways I behaved in the past. Because I didn't exercise, and I still don't. Because I don't take long walks. I spend more time in meditative contemplation. I spend more time reading. I spend more time reaching out to others. In my life journey as my career, I was reaching out to others on a regular basis, and I was very engaging, very active. I remember a man telling me one time, be careful about being a human doing instead of a human being. And that reminded me to be. And while I was as active as I could be, helping people, schlepping across the country, to me, when I would travel across the country and I'd get back, I'd do a red eye and I'd still come to work the next day. Those days don't exist anymore. A red eye means I'll sleep the next day. And this is about the journey. I said to somebody a little earlier, aging is all a process. It's a journey we're on. Wine ages, cheese ages, why not me? I'm part of that journey. My experience has been gifted. I am gifted with people around me who have shown me the better way, have shown me a lighter way, a path forward. I'm also want to look at my strengths. My strength is that I have an emotional and spiritual depth that I like to lean into. One of the most important strengths I have in my aging process is being able to have gotten married to an incredible person and that leads me along the way, that helps me, that is patient and kind and loving and reminds me to be the same way. And I got that relationship later in life. I like to think it was when I was ready for it, not before. And because of that, that's part of my strength. My strength continues to be my experience with this congregation, this group of people here, the people I look out and see in this room and the people that are watching on Zoom, the people that can be here daily, the people that can't be. My strength has also been being of service. Being able to be of service where I am needed is an important part of my value system. And my value system is part of my strength. Those are all part of who I am. And that's why when I ask myself, what is aging to me? Aging is just another day. It's a word. It's a part of the journey. It's what I do. And I don't want to not do it for obvious reasons. But I want to do it with grace. And that is my hope. My hope is that I will be able to be a guide for others. My hope is that I will be able to show my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, that it isn't the saying, aging isn't for the lighthearted. That's not necessarily true for me, because my lightheartedness just gets better as I age. Linda and I went away for a couple days, and we went to this cabin in Big Bear. And while we were there, the first thing I saw when we got there and settled in was a record player. A record player. It wasn't a big stereo system. It was one of those little record players with the speaker in the front. And they had some 33 records. And I put those records on, and I danced and sang and played to Elvis and Motown. I can't remember when I played a 33 record before, again, lately, since then, before, all of the above. But it allowed me to play. And that's an area that I struggle with. I don't play enough. Playing isn't an area that I have been good with. Oh, we play games. We play all kinds of board games, and nobody loves board games and games at the house than my lovely, lovely wife. We do canasta every 2 weeks with her siblings. We play other games with them. We do love those games, but I don't play. I don't know when the last time I I wouldn't do it now, I don't think, put on a pair of skates and went skating. I don't remember the last time I did a lot of playing. Recently, I participated in the painting experience of mono printing. And it was really, really nice. An opportunity for me to play a little more. So my hope is that I will play a little more. That I will play a little more, and I will show others that aging doesn't mean you can't play. It just means you choose what you want to play at, what you want to do, what your experiences are going to be like. That's why I believe it's important for me to just go with the flow, go with the journey. Let my aging be my next part of my journey, and lean into it. Lean into everything about my aging. And as my health changes and shifts, and I too have the thin skin and age marks and the cat's loving touches all over my body, but I get to spend time loving it. Sitting in on that class was not, I wasn't real comfortable at first when we sat down and started talking. But when we all started talking about all of our perspectives and different people's perspectives and views, it really opened me up more. So thank you very much, Peter, for facilitating it. Bryna, for your excellent work with the exercising and just opening our bodies up a little bit. And thank you all for letting me share.
In just a moment, we'd like to share the first of 2 short videos of an interview I had with a hospice client of mine. Her name is Lyanna Giuliano. She is Lebanese. She is about to turn 96 years of age. Her hearing is very weak, but her eyes are the same as they were when she was born. She's a perfect 20/20. Her eyes, not her. And she is a successful businesswoman, now retired. Honesty, as you know, can create a bridge between generations, thus reducing a bit of ageism, we hope. The honesty that Lyanna and I have shared for about a year now has made our relationship a very special one for both of us.
Gracefully, but anything you want to
Well,
say.
anything I want to say. I come from a family of 9 siblings, and you have to have the patience or you kill them. So I brought them up. They all became successful. We had a cook and belly dance before we could eat.
Wow.
That was my dad's favorite saying in the morning. You want to eat? Well, you got to belly dance.
Okay.
So we were dancing around the house. It looked like an animal jungle. But it was fun. We grew up lovely. We all had to work hard to get where we're at. And having the right parents, the right love, the right direction that we were in, we all grew up to be good American citizens.
So love has a lot to do with it. Yeah, how did you become so loving? What could you say about love?
Well, love is so important because without love, you don't have a life. To love children, to love you, but you have to love yourself first before you can expose love to others. We have different kinds of loves. We have marital loves, we have sex loves, we have baby loves. So the word is the whole world needs love, and there'd never be a war.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, right?
Right.
I know.
So what characteristics would you want to see in someone else who might be a friend or a partner? What characteristics in people do you really admire?
Well, first of all, we all know it's hard to find good, sincere, honest people. They come very few and far between. But you will know it when you find it. Now, I have 10 fingers, but I've got 2 or 3 that I could say are loyal. The rest, forget it. You know? But you will know, because when you have a spiritual feeling, God gives you that income to know what to let out and what to bring out and what to say.
There is now another short segment that we'd like to share with you, but it requires just a little clarification. Lyanna owned 3 clothing stores, women's clothing stores, on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. And one day an IRS agent appeared right in the store while she was in the middle of the store walking around, and he appeared to arrest her. The IRS had no record of her ever paying payroll taxes, for all those who were employed by her over the number of years to the point the IRS agent showed up. The next short video will include this story and then some. It's the gentleman she'll be referring to. Thank you.
So where were we? Oh, yeah, about the stores. So when he came in, he said to me, "You, Mr. Giuliano?" I said, "Yes." "You're the owner of these 3 stores?" "Yes." I said, and he said to me, "Well, how come you got your name and that how could you be in 3 stores at one time? You have no records of employees." I said, "You're right, I don't." I said, "Because I have all volunteer help." He said, "Well, I know. I went in one store. One man was washing the windows. Another one was doing something else. Another lady that was old was sewing in a chair." I said, "Well, they're all volunteers. They had no place to go. They don't want to be at home. So I gave them work to do. Irene is sewing. Tom is washing the windows. The other guy's vacuuming the floor." I said, "So they all want to be around me. And all I do is feed them. They look for lunch. They like Lebanese food, and I cook and I bring it in, and we all have dinner together."
So you had 3 stores.
3 stores.
All your employees were volunteer.
Right.
And you told me the man was actually from the IRS.
Right.
So where are the payroll taxes?
Right. And so I took them to eat, take a shower, whatever they wanted to do.
Right.
Okay. So when I told him, "Why am I paying $30 a month," which sounds probably like about $3,000 a month in those days, I said that it's so easy that the guy comes and does it, and I have to pay him $30 just to do my monthly thing. He said, "Oh, it's so simple. I'm going to show you how to do it."
Right.
So what happens? He's volunteering, right? And so he says, he threw the pen down and says, "I'll be damned, I'm volunteering too."
I love that story.
So he got a kick out of that.
Yeah. I do too.
She is a hard act to follow. Several years ago, we had an interim minister by the name of Julie Forrest, and she conducted a class here called The Sage of Aging. One of the assignments that we had in that class was to write our obituary. So I'm very happy to read all of you, let all of you hear mine while I'm still here. You may ask, who or what was Sabrina, and what is she doing here on the obituary page? She was a person just like you who traveled through all the experiences of being young, then not so young, then you know what comes after not so young. She was born in a hospital in the Bronx, as the old joke goes, so she could be close to her mother, and grew up in a 90-family Jewish building, just like all the other 90-family Jewish buildings on her street. Although they didn't call it a street, they called it a block. Everybody was Jewish and everybody was poor. She started kindergarten at age 4.5 and entered the High School of Performing Arts as a dance major at the age of 12.5, graduating at 16, leaving home to dance wherever she was hired. She was just an average person, 5'3" 3/4", a Pisces, and 106 pounds on her very heavy days. She was a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a wife, a mother, a significant other, a wife again, and joy to the world, after a very long wait, a Grammy. She defined herself at times in her life as a ballet dancer, as Chuck's wife, and as a Jewish American printress. In her later years, realizing that life had been good to her before, during, and after the ordeal of losing her first husband. She became someone with a passion to pay it forward. She moved on, she moved up, and she moved forward with husband number 2, Marty Gronwald. In the years following Chuck's death, there were major financial struggles. She said life would have been so much sweeter if he had left a rich widow. And maybe he did. She just hadn't made it yet. What she omitted from the occasion is that in another way, she was left very wealthy indeed. Beside the son she was blessed with, she inherited two really great gifts. She learned how to love, and she learned how to laugh. That was the legacy with which she was left, and the one she freely passes on to those who she loved. Her last request was, in lieu of flowers, please use that money and spend precious time with a special loved one. The present moment is all we have. There will be no memorial except in your heart.
I recently recalled and decided to share this with you. A day a travel partner and I discovered a salt mine at the top of a mountain in the country of Peru. There was only one man on the mountain who worked and lived at the salt mine. Although he was not running a tour, we offered him a few dollars and he began to parade us around the pools of the salt water. I was amazed to learn that the salt water came from within the top of the mountain, thousands of feet above sea level and miles from the ocean. Perhaps not true, and I am not certain to this day, but the gentleman told us that the salt was what still remained from when the mountaintop was in the salt-filled ocean, perhaps millions of years ago. A whole slew of metaphors ran through my head, so my head does all day. One of which was, the universe always provides, however illogical it may seem. As I have aged, I am beginning to trust that more than not. The salt mine consisted of many shallow pools of water about 2 inches deep. Hard, dry, and also made of salt were the 2-foot wide paths that zigzagged around the small, shallow pools of salt and water. I noticed our salt miner turned tour guide was becoming impatient with the slow speed in which we were walking. While attempting to pick up the pace, we found that our legs would not move at the rate that our brain was indicating to them to do so. How is it, I thought, that our intellect can know one thing while the body and the assimilation of knowing can at times take, well, seemingly forever? Our tour guide became increasingly impatient. Understandably so, he could not understand why we could not increase our pace when indeed we wanted to. It became clear to us that the salt was not the least bit slippery. At that point, it occurred to me that my brain could not expand beyond its belief that we were walking on ice. The pace increased a bit. It was almost impossible for us to believe we were safe, knowing we were safe. As I age, I begin to discover a simple truth. Accept, Peter, this dichotomy between what the mind knows and what it realizes, and enjoy all the benefits of simply walking more slowly. My second story. All of us were, I'm sure, frequently asked when we were young, what do you want to be when you grow up? The implied choices by this question did not meet me where I was feeling and sensing. Decades later, people said to me, don't get older. But without this last quarter of my life, how would I know whether or not I became what I had wordlessly dreamed of becoming? I had dreamed of becoming a spiritual being. It could not be articulated to myself or others at the time. I had dreamed of becoming a spiritual being that allowed itself to become a spiritual being. I feel today, and I have felt this way for about a year now. Like a student I was blessed to have in an AP 12th grade English class before I retired. At the end of the day in May 2012, he approached my desk. It appeared to me that he was about to absolutely explode with an overwhelming fallout of absolute joy. His smile conquered his face. Indeed, it lit the whole room up. For 2 hours, I sat at my desk. He leaned against my desk. I insisted he sit down. He did not want to sit down because he was so consumed with emotion. For 2 hours, he told this story, a journey, as has been mentioned previous times this morning, literal and the spiritual. I had never heard anything like it from a young man like this. His story began when he was 13 and living with his family in Guatemala. After having come out to his mother as a gay person, he was immediately and permanently exiled from his home, and he felt as well from his country. At the age of 13, he walked, begged, stole, labored his way to Southern California to find a home and a family with an aunt of his. His aunt had been informed of his possible arrival, and she too immediately rejected him. Two mothers whose limited understanding held this boy's entire identity as nothing more than a criminal of religious dogma. Within a year, he had found his way across the whole country to Bedford, New York, an affluent community north of Manhattan, and this is where I had the pleasure to teach and learn from him. As he exploited in joy, he shared with me, "Mr. Mathews, I graduate in a couple of weeks." He started crying. "I have 2 mothers now, a lesbian couple that have formally and legally adopted me for life. I cannot believe it," he said, and he cried again. "Just yesterday," he continued, "I received notice that I have been endowed with a full 4-year scholarship and with additional financial support in the thousands of dollars." He suddenly regrouped and said, "I guess I have to return some of this, don't I?" "Even though I know it is happening," he said, "I cannot believe it." Rather consistently now, this is how I feel. Because of my human education, it is difficult for me to believe that what I know is true, and that is, for the grace that it will bring, I really cannot wait to get older. Fran, would you extinguish the flame?
Morning. I don't want to get between the coffee and cookies. Well, I feel like I'm in a big elevator, and everybody's facing the front like you're supposed to do, looking at the numbers over the door, and I'm turning around. Anyway, I'm Hiroshi, and I'd like to share a practice that I mentioned in our class, and it helps bring me joy and inspires me to start each day with purpose. In Japan, it's referred to by a funny-sounding name called ikigai, and it is the union of 4 dimensions in life, of what I enjoy, what I am good at, what the world needs, and what I can be paid for, including intrinsic rewards. This practice has been adapted in some Western cultures as the Blue Zones lifestyle. Common to the world's healthiest and happiest people, it is based upon 9 lifestyle habits that fall under the categories of moving naturally, well, Brian reminded us of that this morning, right outlook, connecting with others, and eating wisely. For example, in the category of eating wisely, guidance suggests that we stop eating when we sense we're about 80% full, because our sensation of being full lags our act of eating. Perhaps the Blue Zone Challenge can be a topic for a lifespan class. This was such a relevant class, raising my awareness of changes I see as I age. My values, my views about aging and the elderly, and how I think about death and my evolving thoughts of my evolving spirituality. And then there is the big scary question of how do I attend to direct my remaining attention and energy in whatever time I have left. Clearly, there is more to be revealed in the story of my life. Thank you.
We will now, Fran, extinguish the chalice. Next Sunday, April 3rd, following the patio social time, I hope you will return to the sanctuary at about 11:30 for a presentation by John and Diana Ressler. They will be sharing their experiences of hiking in France. Join us next Sunday for a few informative, illustrated, one-hour talk. Fran, thank you, Fran. Okay. For the closing today's service, The Way It Is by UU poet Lynn Unger. One morning, you might wake up to realize that the knot in your stomach had loosened itself and slipped away, and that the pit of unfulfilled longing in your heart had gradually and without your really noticing been filled in, patched like a pothole. And in that moment, it might occur to you that your life, though not the way you planned it or expected it, is nonetheless persistently, abundantly, miraculously, exactly what it is. Go in peace.